friends, and welcome back to 155 Books. If you're new here, my name is Shannon, and today I'm going to be sharing with you all of the books I want to read in spring. So I sometimes like to do these seasonal TBRs, so books I want to read in a specific season. So I did one for autumn, but I don't think I read a single book that was on that list of the books I wanted to read in autumn, but that is fine. But I thought that a spring one would be very interesting because autumnal books, you can make specific genres feel autumnal or wintry, and summer also has a specific sort of like genre tied to it, but spring can literally be anything you want it to be. And I think I'm finally getting back onto the reading train because my reading has been very, very poor recently, and this stack of books that I want to read in spring kind of sort of like rejuvenating reads. So without further ado, let's get into the 6 books I want to read this spring. The first book on my list is Peter Pan by J.M. Barrie, because this is of course the March pick for the I Should Have Read That book club, which is a book club I run with some lovely co-hosts, Charlotte and Caris. I will leave all of the information in the description box if you want to check that out. So I am kind of cheating with this one because, like I say, it's already a book that I have to read in March anyway. But for me, spring is magical and whimsical and childish, and sort of like, it reminds me of my childhood a little bit, because the sun starts to come out, we get new flowers and the trees start to bloom, and it's also nice, and it just reminds me of like childhood and magic, because spring is kind of its own little bit of magic. Also, because it is a children's novel and it is pretty short, it's one that I can speed through, and I think that's what I want in spring, are books that I can just devour and read really quickly, especially now that I've got back into my reading mood. Next on my list is another book that I can read pretty quickly because it's a novel written in verse, and that is An Emperor's Babe by Bernardine Evaristo. So I haven't actually read a book by Bernardine Evaristo yet. I've got this one and Girl, Woman, Other on my TBR. I've also got the audiobook of Girl, Woman, Other. However, because this one is a novel in verse and I feel like I could speed through it a lot quicker, it will give me a taste, hopefully, of Bernardine Evaristo's writing that will then hopefully kick me into reading some more of her books. Because obviously she's a very well-known author and much loved as well. So this one follows our main character Zuleika in Roman Britain, as this is a historical novel in verse, and Zuleika is a teenage bride, but she then catches the eye of the emperor. Other than that, I don't know much about this one, but I have heard it is very hard-hitting and emotional, and I'm just very, very excited because it will be the first historical novel in verse that I have read, and the whole concept just really intrigues me, and I'm excited because it's one that I can hopefully speed through, and it just gives me spring vibes. The next book is a bit of a strange one because the genre of this book is normally associated with autumn and winter, but the next book on my list is The Murder of Roger Ackroyd by Agatha Christie, and this one was so kindly gifted to me for Christmas quite a few years ago now, by Olivia Savannah from Olivia's Catastrophe, so it's about time I get round to reading this one, and I do believe Olivia also loved this one. But yes, I'm just really in the mood for a murder mystery, and it might also be because we are reading The Appeal by Janice Hallett for the I Should Have Read That book club in April, so I feel like once I've read that, I'm going to want some more murder mysteries in my life, and who better than Agatha Christie? So I've only read 2 other Agatha Christies, and they are And Then There Were None and Murder on the Orient Express, so 2 of her bigger ones. But I have heard that if you've enjoyed those, that you will also really enjoy this one. So yes, just very excited to be back in a murder mystery world, and have some more Agatha Christie in my life. Now this next book is the perfect book for spring for me, because all I've heard about this is that it's cozy, it is magical, it's just like a hug in a book, and to me that is what spring is. It's just a hug in a season. But the book is The House in the Cerulean Sea by T.J. Klune, and again this one was so kindly gifted to me by Victoria from What Victoria Read for hitting 1,000 subscribers, so thank you so much, Victoria. And yes, when I was compiling my list of books I wanted to read in spring, this was the first one that came to mind because, like I said, it's the magical aspects of it, the hug in a book. Supposedly will just put a massive smile on your face, and that's just what I need right now because we're coming out of the dark evenings I'm going to be in a happier mood. Again, this is one I don't know much about, but I do believe it's set in an orphanage and it follows a group of children who possibly have, you know, magical powers. Yes, and I read the first line of this quite recently, just to kind of get a taste of what it was going to be like, and I immediately was so excited. So the first line says, "Oh dear," Linus Baker said, wiping the sweat from his brow, "this is most unusual." The vibes. So I would say this is one I will definitely be prioritising this spring. So the second to last book on this list is actually an ARC, so an advanced reader copy, that I still cannot believe I am holding and that I own. But I'm very excited about. And again, Olivia Savannah from Olivia's Catastrophe won a giveaway on Instagram for 2 copies of this book, and she very kindly picked me as the person to receive the second copy. So yes, beyond excited, but it is You Made a Fool of Death with Your Beauty by Akwaeke Emezi. So myself and Olivia buddy read Pet last year, and it was one of my favourite books I read in 2021, so I'm very excited to be reading a adult romance novel by Akwaeke Emezi, and I've heard that, you know, there's high hopes for this, and I'm so excited. I've also recently finished reading the Brown Sisters trilogy, and I feel like I need a replacement for those books in my life, and this is going to be the perfect replacement because it follows our main character, Faye, who it's 5 years after she has lost the love of her life, and her friend Joy convinces her it's time for her to go dating again, and she has a whirlwind summer of lots of dates and craziness, and then there's a guy that she falls for, but supposedly the one man she wants is the one man she definitely cannot have. It sounds like it's going to be very steamy, and the kind of dating that she goes on is going to be very luxurious, so being like flown to places like tropical islands and going on like rooftop parties and things like that. So I kind of want to live vicariously through the main character of this book. And it's going to definitely set me up for summer, but I'm not quite ready. I'm awful in summer for getting around to reading books like this, so I thought I would start early and read it in spring. And the official release date for this is the 24th of May, so of course I would love to read it as well before the official release date, so I can maybe review it on my channel for you all. And that leads me on to my last book, which is definitely a strange one, but I have been in the mood for a very different read. I think, like I say, with spring, it's, you know, a season of new life, so I want to give a different genre or a different kind of book a go, and that's why I've put Tender is the Flesh by Augustina Bazterrica on my spring TBR, and this one was another gift from Victoria, from what Victoria read, and it is a recommendation I also got from Victoria and a few other people on BookTube as well. So this one sounds like it's going to be a bit gross, but on the front it says, "If everyone was eating human meat, would you?" And yes, I don't know a lot about this one, other than it might include cannibalism, and that's always interesting to read about. I have heard it is quite disturbing, but like I said, I'm in the mood for something different, and disturbing is definitely different. So I cannot wait to give this one a go. And again, it's quite short, and it's a translated book, and I want to be reading more translated books as well, so it just ticks all of my boxes. So that is the strange amalgamation of books I want to read this spring. Please let me know in the comments what book you want to prioritise this spring, and if you have read any of these, please let me know which one I should pick up first. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you soon in my next video. Bye!